No, I do not, because I know the outcome already. I know that Manny Pacquiao's gonna beat him down. Manny Pacquiao's not a showman. He's not gonna carry Conor McGregor like Mayweather did. Mayweather somehow said he wasn't in shape for that fight. Manny Pacquiao's always in shape, and he's a legend. Even at 41, he's one of the most explosive fighters that we've seen in the last 20 years. He's a southpaw, just like Conor McGregor. One thing that southpaws hate to do is fight other southpaws, and McGregor's not even a boxer. So can you imagine how quick one of the best southpaws of our generation, that Manny Pacquiao, is going to take care of business with a guy that fights in an octagon using his legs and jiu-jitsu and elbows? No way, man. I don't want to see this. This is a travesty for boxing, man. No.
Well, if Pacquiao had lost his last fight to Keith Thurman, I might say why not? Because at that point, Pacquiao would have lost to a title holder, wouldn't have his belt, and would be very much in the twilight of his career. But Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman, and he showed at 40 plus years old that he is still a player in the 147-pound division. So not Conor McGregor. I want to see Pacquiao against Terence Crawford. If that fight can be made, I want to see Pacquiao fight the winner of Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. I want to see Pacquiao win with really any of the top welterweights out there. I understand why he wants to fight Conor McGregor. Despite the fact that you and I can sit here and talk and tell people for hours that that fight is a bad fight, there will be a market for it. There will be a huge live gate for it. There would be a big pay-per-view number for it. People would buy it, and Pacquiao would have a pretty easy paycheck coming his way. But if it happens, it happens. I don't want to see it. I want to see Pacquiao fight Bud Crawford at some point early next year.
Hey, if anyone deserves an easy payday, is the legend in Manny Pacquiao. But I just think, like you mentioned, that's a great point. He beat one of the elite welterweights in Keith Thurman, so he's still an elite fighter, even at 41 years old. We know what he's gonna do against Conor McGregor. It's gonna be a one-sided fight. I don't think that fight goes past 5 rounds. It's gonna be explosive, violent, and quick. It's gonna be Pac-Man eating up them ghosts. Oh, come on. I don't want to see it.
But boxers don't fight like that anymore, though, Floyd. I mean, you're basically fighting every couple of months. You're in the ring.
Upset. I should be upset with myself with what I did to the sport of boxing.
Right.
Every fighter now wants. I want a Floyd Mayweather payday.
Right.
But I put in a lot of hard work to get where I got to. It wasn't easy, very, very difficult, and I really wasn't crying and complaining. I would just say, yo, put him in front of me. I'll beat him. To show the world that I'm the best, and someday I will go down in history as the best.
Do you believe they were hesitant to do that because they knew they didn't want you to take an L? You knew you weren't going to take the L, but it's sometimes promotion companies, they protect their fighters because they feel they're protecting them from themselves.
It's crazy that the promoter, Bob Arum, I can't say these fighters don't see this. One minute he'll say Ali is one of the best that I had. Then it's Mayweather, then it's Pacquiao, and then it's Lomachenko, then it's this guy. I mean, boy, these promoters, they kill me.
Floyd, you did something that no one had done at that time. You broke with the promotion company and struck out on your own.
Yes.
How did you come to that decision? How did you say, you know what? Instead of me fighting for him and him getting a chunk of this, why not I fight? I'm in the ring. He ain't taking no blows. Let me get all this.
Let me keep 100% of the revenue.
Yeah.
I can't see how fighters right now, and it's not like I'm throwing shade. It's just that if I accomplish everything that I've accomplished, and I've done everything that I've done, how can you go to I look at guys like Terence Crawford.
Right.
Terence Crawford can be a lot bigger than he is. How can you make, and this shows that racism still exists. How can you say that Lomachenko is better than Terence Crawford? Not at all. Not in a million years. Not at all.
And sure enough, he fought a terrific fight.
Yeah.
But that moment came around the 7th round. I don't know if I'm exactly right, but I know it was around there. Around the 7th round, well, the beginning of the fight was all about the jab. It was Charlo's longer, faster, snappier jab, nice jab. And it was Derevyanchenko's double jab because he's shorter. He needs 2 to close the gap.
Yep.
Because you don't want to throw a jab and be left hanging out in the middle of Lexington Avenue and Broadway. Yeah, it's bad. Traffic comes.
Yeah.
You get hit by a car or a punch. So you want to close the gap. And so he needed 2. But his jabs were strong. They were accurate. His jab was good too. But Charlo's was better. It was all about the jab early on. And as I always say, it's about geography. Who owned the geography they needed to own in that ring to the most part? Who was most consistent with having the right geography? And I think Charlo went and visited a realtor, you know, and got a little bit of advice from a good realtor that said, "Hey, in your fight coming up, it's about location, location, location." And he was cognizant of that. You could see it. He was going to control that outside, try to make Derevyanchenko go through a bad neighborhood and get mugged.
Yep.
Make him earn his way in. Control real estate. Control real estate. Control geography. Keep the geography you need. And Charlo was doing that for the most part. And then came the 7th round. And he got tested because Derevyanchenko was at that make or break point where he had to really up the octane. He really had to go to DEFCON 3 or 4 or 5 to turn it around, and he did. And all of a sudden, the fight looked like the momentum was going to swing in a different direction. He started swinging it. I was like, whoa, now it's a fight. Because in life, people have heard me say this before, you're not in a fight until there's resistance, something to overcome. You're not. It's just an athletic exhibition up to that point. And if you're more athletic than the next, and I'm talking about maybe athletically, mentally too. Mental athleticism. You're in a boardroom, you're not challenged. You're in a courtroom, you're not challenged. You're a doctor, you're not challenged. But then all of a sudden, one day you get challenged. You open up a person and the things that are supposed to be there, they're not there. The things that the biology book, the medical school told you it's different. Some arteries got pushed around in a car accident. Something got changed. Oh my goodness. Now you find out if you're a doctor. It's the same thing in life with everything. Now you find out if the guy's a fighter when there's something to overcome.
Good news that Usyk against Chisora has been made for Halloween. No doubt in the marketing build up to that, they'll have Usyk working his crazy ways, but it's a good fight. It's an obvious further introduction, dipping his toe into the heavyweight waters for the top cruiserweight and stellar amateur Usyk.
Absolutely. I mean, you couldn't get a more perfect foil for Usyk's heavyweight adventure at this stage than the one and only Derek Chisora. We know how talented Usyk is. Without question, one of the probably 2 or 3 most talented fighters pound for pound in the sport. However, the question mark hanging over his head, of course, is he just a little bit too small to reproduce that kind of magic and that magic to be so effective up at heavyweight? And Chisora will be a good measuring stick? And then are we being too disrespectful to Chisora just by writing him off as a measuring stick? I think if there's any kind of criticism about this fight, any criticism at all, is that it's not a 50-50. Going in, I think you've got to be saying this is 80-20 in Usyk's favour. I think even with the size factor, which we're not certain about how he'll cope, I still think you've got to favour Usyk big time. He's the type of opponent Chisora has nightmares with.
You'd think so. I remember 2011 on the Billy Joe Saunders against Chris Eubank Jr. Bill, and that was the night that Tyson Fury rematched Derek Chisora, and he was boxing him southpaw. He basically jabbed his head off that day. But then again, There's been so many renaissances in Chisora's life, hasn't there? There've been days when I've interviewed him ringside at Wembley where it looked like he didn't give a hoot and he couldn't be bothered. And then there's other nights when he's up for it and he's verging on spectacular for him. So you never quite know what you're going to get from Chisora. And I think he'll have his teeth into this one as a contest. And that's a challenge as a man and as a fighter.
What I like about Derek Chisora, and it's a term that has been thrown about with him before, is that he's a real throwback. I think he's got 9 losses on his record, and after each of them he's kind of dusted himself off and has come back, and you're quite right, he's surprised us time and again. He's on a bit of a run of form again now after quite a harrowing knockout loss to Dillian White at the end of 2018. Yes, yet he's come back and proved himself to be among the best of the kind of fringe contenders in the heavyweight division. He will give it his all. We know that. It's unlikely to be dull. We know that also. It's a very good fight to make, particularly in the environment we're in at the moment, in the climate we're in at the moment. We should welcome this fight, I think.